Let's make some sourdough biscuits and a really tasty dinner to go along with it. As always, my recipe will be linked down below in the description box. I'll have the recipe for the sourdough biscuits along with the recipe for the sloppy joes that I make to go along with it. So we're going to start by getting our dry ingredients together in a bowl. So this is going to be our flour, our sugar, salt, baking soda, baking powder, and a little bit of sugar. I'm going to sift those all together so there's no clumps. And once everything is sifted together, I'm going to add 1 stick of cold butter and then cut it into the dry mixture. Once the butter is cut into the flour mixture and it is crumbly but still falls apart a little bit, I'm going to add my milk and then my sourdough starter. You can do buttermilk for this as well, but it was just easier for me to do regular milk. And then I'm going to add in my nice and active starter for these biscuits. And once I have everything in the bowl, I'm going to take a wooden spatula and kind of mix everything together here. Not working the dough too much because we don't want it to be tough. We want it to be nice and fluffy and light to have all those layers. And I will mix it together until it is just incorporated. Once my dough ball comes together, I'm going to lightly flour the surface that I put it on and then add a little bit of flour on top. And then I'm going to just give it a nice press, but then also roll it out to about 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. You want it decently thick so you have a nice hearty biscuit. And then I'm going to cut those out with just a regular glass. You can use a cookie cutter or a biscuit cutter or whatever you have. The closest thing that I had available to me was just a glass, so I just pressed the glass into the dough to get my biscuits. I will also mention and point out that I don't twist the glass once it is on the dough and I'm pressing out the biscuit. That kind of like seals the edges and you don't get that nice rise, so you just want to do a single push and then pull up and your biscuit dough should come right out. Once it is pulled out, I'm going to put it into a cast iron pan. I like to cook mine in a cast iron pan. You can totally put them on just a regular sheet tray, but I put mine in a cast iron pan and I'll bake it in there until they are nice and golden brown and crispy, about 10 to 15 minutes or so. And while those are baking, I'm going to work on the sloppy joe part of this dinner. So for my sloppy joe mixture, I'm going to get some olive oil in the pan, get it nice and warm, and then I'm going to add a diced onion, let they get nice and brown before I go ahead and add my beef to my pan. I'm going to let that get nice and golden brown, drain off the fat once everything is cooked all the way through, and then once that is situated, I'm going to go ahead and add all of my ingredients to make this a sloppy joe. So once the beef is all cooked together, I'm going to add some minced garlic, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some ketchup, a little bit of brown sugar, mustard, and coconut aminos. The recipe that I found called for Worcestershire sauce, I believe. I didn't have any, so I just used a little bit of coconut aminos instead, and that worked out just fine. This was super tasty, just how I did this. The mustard I'm using also is a horseradish mustard. You don't have to use horseradish. Again, it's just what I had on hand, but it turned out really well. And I did this a little bit deconstructed. So I put my biscuits on my plate and then added my sloppy joe topping on top of my biscuits, and then finished it off with some cheddar cheese. And this was such a good dinner. I have never made a sloppy joe like this before, ever really, and it was a super tasty one. I really want to add on our rotation. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below. I make new videos every single week on all things sourdough, homemaking, and country living, and I will see you in my next video.